Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's time to take a look at what you've all been waiting for. What modifications have I made to the vintage steam train set? Let's go take a look with the second model that I've already prepared. So let's quickly start off with the things that I wasn't happy about with this set. We'll start with the locomotive itself. So I think that this funnel is a little bit too big. It looks like a bucket. That's the first thing I wasn't happy about. Secondly, the firebox is too short compared to the boiler, so the dome is lower than the boiler, and the dome is where steam is supposed to collect, so this is not going to be practical at all for a steam engine. So that was another bit that I didn't like. The other part is these side tanks that it has. I don't think that makes, at least for me, doesn't make any sense for a tender engine to have side tanks on the loco. Someone online pointed out they think this was originally designed to be more of a tank engine rather than a tendered loco, and I agree with them. Making this into a tank engine could be quite a lot of fun as well. So those tanks I didn't like. The next thing that I wasn't too thrilled about is the buffer bar is just, it's just hollow. There's no like nice red beam there, and I think that's a shame because it really spoils the look of the front of the loco. The smoke box door is also very recessed in rather than being a bit more prominent, so that is also something that I wanted to change. And I think that was essentially it. Oh, and the wheel inside the cab for the control. I don't think I've seen a steam engine controlled by a wheel like that before, so I want to get rid of that and make it look more like a regulator instead. So that's the main issues with the loco itself. The tender I don't think is that bad. For me, this is like the biggest piece of red for the whole part of the train, and so it's a bit too stand out in comparison. So I think that needs to be thinner. The panels, although they add detail, I'd like to put on an LRTS sticker. So I'm going to try and source one of those, or perhaps make one to go on there. But the biggest complaint that I have for this tender is that it's an entire brick shorter than it would need to be. So you can see here the coupling isn't completely covered like it is at the front, so it's a little bit weird. So I think they make that a little bit longer to be able to more comfortably have the battery box go in there, and when the motor's switched out, I've just got the fake one in there at the moment, so when that motor's in there, you've got a bit more room for all of the electronics. So that's what I wasn't so pleased about with that. And then lastly, on the coach, and this is purely just preference, is that I would prefer this to have not had these balconies at each end, and for it to have been a full coach, maybe even with some doors either side as well. Other than that, I think the coach is quite nice. I like the colour scheme. So those are the things that I decided to address and change. So now let's take a look at the locomotive that I have put together. So here is my locomotive and tender. So straight away, you can see that I've done quite a bit of changes here. The side tanks are now completely gone. I've shortened the firebox and raised it up. My dome is now green, as well as the whole boiler, and that is now sat on top properly. I've changed the chimney out for a much smaller chimney as well. And if I turn this to the front, you can see I've got a proper buffer beam in place in red. I've also changed the lamps to white because I think they contrast nicely, they stand out more. And I got rid of the lamp on that bracket that was in the front of the smoke box. I brought the smoke box forwards, and I've added a bar with a handle so that it's got essentially represent a dart on the front there. And those are the changes that I've made on there. And then in the back, I've just amended the detail a little bit, got rid of that wheel, added a couple of extra gauges, and put in a handle for the regulator. For the tender, I flipped those panels round and extended that last brick out. And rather than having a big red brick, I've got some more of these tiles with rails on in order to create a little step in red all the way around, and I think that that's then not as over the top when it's put together with the Locomotive. And also you'll notice the top I've changed so that there's coal load at the front, and then there's a split with the water hatch at the back for filling the tender with water as well. The side of it does, I think, look a bit flat at the moment, but I think that once I get the LRTS sticker that made up and put on there, it's going to look much better. This one is also currently fitted out with the powered up motor as well, and you can see it just kind of sneaking in there. This whole section is attached to one of my hubs, so these are modified hubs rather than the full-sized ones, because I like running rechargeable 9-volt batteries, and that's what I've got on top. And then I can just pull this section here out, and that gets me access to the button to start it up. You see I've just done some tiles on there so it stays easy, and this is just a 2x3 with a few parts added on to hide it in there nicely. And then inside you can see my rechargeable battery stood in there with plenty of room. One thing I did decide to do though, if I just pull the motor off, there we go, I have used a knife to remove the clip that's from the top of the motor. So this motor will never now be able to be used as a bogeyed motor, but I know it's always going to stay on this Locomotive, so that getting rid of that just gave me a little bit of extra room and stopped everything pivoting and being a bit of a nuisance to deal with when it's inside of the tender as well. So that is my completely powered up system for it. And then lastly, my modifications that I have done are for the coach. I have extended it very simply by adding some windows and a few extra bits to create some doors. And now I have a full-size coach. I think it looks really nice like this. It wasn't particularly difficult to do, and yeah, it just suits the needs that I have far better, I feel. So that is my modified version of the vintage steam train. And now what I will do as well is I'll break down this and take it into different component pieces and show you where I've made those changes. So if you want to do something along the same lines, then it will be a little bit easier for you as well. So here are the two locomotives side by side, and I'm going to just strip down my one to show you the changes that I have made in order to get this look. So first things first is we're going to take off the side pieces, which are connecting the boiler into the rest of the main build. And then the boiler should just lift out. So let's move that one out of the way for the time being. So we get to see a much better look at the chassis here now and what I've done. So the main changes are, I have changed out some of the grey bricks in here for black ones. I did want to change these large brown bricks out as well for black, but I didn't have any. So they've just stayed in that colour for now. I think that that helps this kind of just all blend together. The really light grey kind of sticking out was a bit much for, you know, for what it was, I thought. And then the firebox, the original, you could just pull the entire firebox off, but this one is now stuck in, and there is a plate in here which joins it. And is it 2 down? Yes, 2 further down. So I'll pull these parts off, firing some of them onto the floor. There we go. So there is now a plate that runs all the way across in here, which joins my firebox into the cab area, which keeps this a lot sturdier and it's not going to come flying off all the time. The other thing that has changed in this is that I have swapped out the large tall brackets for these shorter ones instead, and this means that I don't have to deal with the big area where it was the from the other one. So we had the red brackets with these built up pieces on top. I think you can see from the side. Can you see down there? No, can't see down there. It's the red brackets with the plates on top to create these tanks. So I got rid of those entirely, and I got rid of these 2x2 plates entirely as well, which were creating the top of the tanks as well. So they're gone. Replaced with these. I've kept one set which is too high, purely to hold this bar in place so that I can have that pipe detail going down the side of the running board still, and I've just used bricks to build up the firebox itself, and I think it just looks much better. I also have on hand some green clips as well, so I've changed those black clips out for green so that it blends more nicely as well. And overall, I just think that smokebox works a lot better. Sorry, not smokebox, firebox. So I'm much happier with that. I think it looks better. It's more in scale to the Locomotive as well, I think, and more in scale to like the boiler that it has with it as well. I think the previous one was far too big for the boiler that it had. So let's move on to the front section. So I've completely removed these side, I can assume they only put in as supposedly being like piston looking. I don't need those, so I've gotten rid of them, which means I've turned the brackets that were in there round to be able to hold on the front bar. And this is literally, these are one of the 1x6s that were in the set, and I've just put on a few tiles on there to create that buffer beam. And then you can see there's the two brackets, and again I've got some of those 1x6s in there for it to sit on. So there's a 1x6, and then I think that was a 1x2 just to fill the gap piece on top. I was going to put a 2x6 red piece on here, but I only had 2x3s, so I've got two 2x3s. In the original, that was a 2x6 black piece, so that's been replaced out, and that gives us a nice consistent colour for the front of the Locomotive as well. So that's that bit, and then finally onto the boiler itself. So I have dropped out all of these black pieces that were originally on the Locomotive, and I've replaced them with these macaroni pieces. I've mentioned in another video though that these macaroni pieces in dark green are like hen's teeth. They're really difficult to get hold of, and when you do find them, they can be upwards of £4 in the UK, and I'm not paying that for that. So these ones are actually Brick ones, which I think they changed their name. They're Brickwith now, are they? So these are not official Lego ones, but you know, I can't tell the difference between the colour or quality of those with the real ones, so I'm more than happy to use them. They are just in place of those black half pieces. I've taken the plates that were at the smoke box side, and they have now moved to the middle, because the middle now has a regular old-fashioned, let's try and focus on that, regular old-fashioned cast axle, so a wheel axle in there, and that's just what this is pushed onto to hold it in place. Likewise at the front, the chimney is held in the same way. I've got a 1x1 stud with a hole into a Technic link piece, which is a 1x1 link piece, and then I'm not even sure what piece this one is. I found it absolutely ages ago, and it just looks perfect for making chimneys. So that finishes off the look of the chimney. I did try one of these that was too high, but it looked too tall then, so I decided against that. The rest of the construction itself is pretty much the same as what it was. I've just filled out the space to be able to get it to the length it needs to be for that gap that I've created, so it is now longer than the previous one, obviously, because we got the firebox been shortened. And I've also used some green 4x4 round plates just to cap it off. The whole round plates actually help really nicely to bind everything together, because when everything's quartered, these plates at the bottom are quarters, and then these I think was a half or a quarter or something. It all becomes a little bit of a nuisance to deal with, so these help to cap it and keep it all sturdy. For the smoke box, I'm not sure if I'm even going to be able to pull this one off. Oh, everything falling apart. I've just put another plate in there to bring the smoke box further forward, so it's not as deep in there anymore, and I think that looks much nicer as well. This one just kind of looked like the smoke box was disappearing, whereas this, it looks more like it is a door. rather than a plate much further back. So I think that looks much nicer, and it all attaches in the same way as previous, just pushing on there. And then I also made sure that these ones got modified. I used the two 1x6s to create this full run, so that everything on this is the same except for ditching out the 2x4 plates that were there originally. I've moved this 2x4 plate further back in order to carry the number. I completely got rid of, knocking the smoke box off, get back on there. I completely got rid of, you can see through in the cab, the tan snot pieces which were holding on the tiles originally. So I got rid of those because I wanted this number to start from here, but also I could see the line, you could see where that tan piece was. So I didn't like that, that kind of annoyed me. So I decided to get rid of that by swapping mine out. I've just used a couple of snot bricks in green that I have. Now these are slightly higher up than what those ones were, because with the snot bricks these single ones are always a little bit taller, but I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me because I can't see any colours that aren't supposed to be there, so that makes me much happier. I kept, wrong side, I wanted to keep these pieces here to keep the aesthetic of the set still. I'm not trying to completely redesign the set, so I liked this chunky running board look, so I've kept that, and I've just extended the pipe work down. So I just ordered some more of these pipes just to have that go in, so that they've got a much longer run to them. And I think that is essentially everything that I did to modify the locomotive itself. Now I've already just shown you pulling apart bits of the tender, so I don't think that there's too much that I need to really show on this one. That still, it's a very simple change. It is literally just designed to take the entire battery box and make it as hidden away as possible. In the original, I think that the cables out the back were a bit more on show, so I've made sure that this plate comes over the top of where the sockets are, just to help hide it away. And although it's still an open area, I think it's much better hidden in there. And if you compare it to the original tender as well, my tender is slightly taller than the original, so if you can get a full-size powered up hub in there, you can definitely get a full-size powered up hub in here as well. So much better, and just more room to it as well. So I'm really pleased with that one. It's very simple, and like I said, I am going to make some LRTS stickers to go on here. I just need to get enough stickers to make printing a sheet worthwhile, otherwise they become a little bit silly expensive, the amount you're paying for the paper if you're not printing loads of stuff on it. So that is the very simple bits of the tender. And lastly, that brings us on to the coach itself, and rather than pulling this one apart to demonstrate what I did, I'm actually going to modify this one now, because I want to have this second coach keep the rear balcony on the back, but extend the roof and extend this one with the door. So that's what I'm going to do now, and we'll show you what it was that I changed. So let's first off get this roof out of the way and remove the 1x3s from this end. So you would do this for both ends. I'll remove the render piece, and then that just comes off, and we'll remove the bit that holds the balcony's fancy bit. Now ideally you'd have a 2x6 piece for this next part, but I've only got 2x3s, so I'm just going to add these on to complete that all to the same height. And then for my doors, in fact, this is the right side for this door, so I've just got a 1x2 green brick, and then I've got a rounded modified plate with a handle, and a 1x1 in gold. I've got two reddish brown plates, a reddish brown window, and another reddish brown plate on top, and that just creates my door and has the 1x3 go on. On this one I didn't have another plate, so I've just used a clip that I've got laying around instead, so you're not going to see it. They go on, I'm going to add my side back on, just like that. Lastly, some 1x2 tiles to clip those in, and that is exactly how I made this longer. Now, next we've got to change the roof tiles. So all for this I'm going to do is just knock these side pieces off, like that, and I've got some 2x6s instead of those 1x6s, which will go on. The problem that causes is that these then don't align, and as you can see in my one, they're all lined up nicely. So I actually took all of these off and moved them up, and then just add in these jumpers at the end as well. Oh, I'm missing the 1x4s. So 1x4 and then the jumpers. So I'm going to quickly do that now, and then we'll have that roof onto there. So I've broken the roof down to this stage, where I've just got the long pieces. All of those tiles are now removed, and then I add these 2x6s at each end, and I have some 1x4s to add at each end as well. And now it's a case of putting all of these back on and along, and also adding those jumper plates at the ends to create the final roof. So I'm going to quickly throw all of these back on, and then we'll see the final coaches put together. And there we have it. Those are my final coaches all together now. The extended one with the balcony still out the front, out the back. I left this one because I didn't want to lose, the characteristic of the original set itself, but I still want a carriage that makes sense for what I like from carriages. So I'm really pleased with how they have turned out. I definitely want another one of these made up, just to create the full length of the train. I still think it's criminal that they didn't give us two carriages in the original set. Yes, that's just a little bit too short for me. 3 carriages, and I think that would look fantastic. So that is all of the modifications that I have done to this set. I'd love to have taken it outside and run it around the garden again and get some footage, but unfortunately, unlike last week, this week in the UK, it is absolutely heaving it down with rain. So unfortunately, we're just going to have to enjoy it here on the desk instead. Thanks for watching, guys, and do remember, if you've enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, then consider subscribing to the channel. Why not drop a like on this video and leave me a comment down below. Which of these modifications do you think worked well? Which will you be doing? And which modifications will you do that I haven't done? I look forward to seeing what it is that you guys are going to come up with. Until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.